Alright, welcome back everyone. I know it's been over 9 months since I posted my last video. All of this footage that you're seeing was recorded probably 11 to 12 months ago, so almost a whole year. My goal during this time was to finish the entire driver's side of the bus. You'll see that we definitely don't get there, but we get really close. Now I'm sure you're wondering why I've been sitting on this footage for 9 months, and there's a lot of reasons. We'll have a more direct video explaining everything here soon, but in between then and everything, you're gonna see a lot of changes on this channel, a lot more storytelling. I'm trying to make higher quality videos that I'm proud of. And you're gonna see a lot of trial and error and experimenting here, and the story of what's been happening these past few months should get told in all of this. But anyways, back to your regularly scheduled program. I decided to replace the entirety of the outer dog leg, mainly because of how rusty the inner dog leg was. So before we can do the outer dog leg, I have to replace the inner dog leg, and it would just be way easier to mock everything up with this outer dog leg completely removed. Instead of just cutting everything out, I removed everything in stages just to verify how much I would have to replace. At this point, I plan on replacing everything, but if I didn't have to, I wanted to make sure before I cut it all out. But before we go on to removing that inner dog leg, we're going to remove the seat and the rubber floor mat, just in order to get a good broad picture of what we're working with. The seat very clearly hasn't been moved in a very long time, and as you can tell, they put up a fight coming out. When I bought the bus, there was 2 buses on the property that I purchased the bus on. There was an old 74 bus that was in slightly better shape, but it had clearly been in a wreck. It had a ton of Bondo on the front end. I cut a bunch of metal off of the bottom section all the way around the perimeter of the bus, and a lot of it's unusable just with the Bondo and the rust, but I was able to salvage these front dog legs. And here we have our factory original inner dog leg removed from our donor material. But before we can install it, we have to remove our current one and patch up some of the pieces that we have missing that this inner dog leg is going to attach to. of donor metal off of the piece that we're going to use for the inner dog leg. We can salvage this off of that so we can use it. So I'm just going to get this fit up in here. Missed. Okay, that works. Okay, so I'm gonna take this, make sure we straight. So here you can see that piece of donor metal all welded up in here. Using this piece of donor metal is way easier than trying to replicate all of these curves and stuff for what I'm gonna call the footwell. I don't really know what this is actually called, but it's turning out nice. So now I'm just using the air hammer to finish popping out these spot welds of the last remaining little bit of that inner dog leg. Alright, so we've pretty much got this all patched up in here. Got to do some more grinding yet, and there's a few little spots we got to get. And I've got our old inner dog leg all removed. So here's our piece of donor material. So let's set this up like that. There we go. Okay. So all of this is going to get welded in. All of this is going to get welded in. And then we're going to cut in here to match this. And this will get welded in along here. Come across. I think we're going to cut some more of this out because this is pretty thin right here. You can kind of see it bubbling up. So we'll leave some of this, we'll cut that out. Hopefully we can get it all fit up in here and we weld everything in. And then we'll have to come back up here and we'll finish preparing this and all of this here so we can get that outer dog leg on. Hopefully this thing fits. Alright, so I've got it kind of tacked up front here. It's just kind of hanging on the back because really it's kind of hard to get a clamp on there. I want to get the front of the dog leg, the outer dog leg there, cut up and fit up. And then we're going to put the door on just to make sure that everything lines up and we don't have weird gaps. And then we can probably weld it all in. So let me grab that outer dog leg and we'll start fitting that in there. So we go over to the other side. This edge is lined up at the bottom of the door all the way. straight edge. Let's see. Probably up here. Alright, so down here the seam's pretty close, and then it starts to split off. So what we're going to do is we're going to end up cutting right down here about to this point, pull this over, we'll plug weld that, and then we'll fill this gap back up just to close this, because this panel is cheap and might as well not even be sold because that's so not accurate. I had to cut and grind this edge here in order to get this to line up on the bottom of our B-pillar. I think I still probably need to shape this a little bit based off looking on the camera. I think it needs to come up a little bit there if it kind of dips. Up here we're going to have to push this in a little bit. And you can see there's movement so that this edge is flush with that door. But then the floor that follows this here is up higher than this. So I think what we'll end up doing up here, it starts to veer off. We're going to just take another piece, probably about a 1/2 inch wide strip of metal, sheet metal, and just run it along, and then we're going to weld that top and bottom because that'll fill the gap then, and then we'll just grind that flush, and then hopefully it looks normal. But it's definitely not a super accurate reproduction panel, but once it's done, no one should be able to tell. I kind of hate how large of a gap we got over here, but I did check the other side that we haven't cut, and it is about the same, so we're going to live with it. Alright, so got it pretty much all welded in all the way around. We still got a couple of spot welds in here that we got to do, and then we got to do a couple more up in here. But other than that, this has been welded in there. Everything's attached, everything's solid. Because of this here, where this is basically lower than where the factory line is. And if we go over on the other side, we can see that it is straight. I took this piece in here that we're gonna weld in next here, and then we'll just kind of blend it in with everything and make sure that that's all gonna work. Same with like this, isn't that our corner? We're just gonna bevel it since we welded it right on that edge, and then we'll be pretty much done with the dog leg here, and we can finish up this side by doing the rear cab corner, and then we'll have to start the passenger side. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this welded in off camera, and then we'll get back together for the final result.